Hi, I'm Becca and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a spliced paradox cane but with a rainbow blend. It was somebody that already watches me that asked how to make the video. I followed a video by Motley Woods, I'll link that in the description box, but I thought so that I can make it different for me, just do a rainbow version of it, and it's turned out lovely. It's probably a little bit darker than in the screen than what it is in person, but it's such a fun cane, and I was worried that it weren't going to turn out okay, but it did. And I've done a pastel version, and I've just done different colourways just for me practicing along the way, and also I've made some little canes out of just bits that I've left over from the ends that I've cut off. So let's get started and I'll show you how. Hopefully this blend will work out and you will see this part of the video. If it's not worked out then you'll not see it, so if you're seeing it I'll be happy with what it turns out. So somebody asked me recently whether if I'd ever go at the spliced paradox cane as a video. I've watched it through, I think it was Motley Woods. I'll link their video in the description below. But theirs is sort of like a 10-11 minute video, whereas I wanted to do it just a little bit more lengthy. If you don't want to listen to me jabbering on for ages, then feel free to go and watch her video. She uses a green and a purple blend, but I thought, how can I make it different for me? So I thought I'll have a go at doing a rainbow one. So I've written out all the colours in it. So we've done Richard of York gave battle in vain. I've actually put dark purple instead of violet, so that didn't work very well. But I thought, well, how many base colours can I have to create the other one? So I've got red and yellow, which will make our orange, then I've got yellow and blue, which will make a green, and then a light blue with a dark purple should hopefully make an indigo for us. And obviously that one's going to be our violet one. So what I'm going to do is I've just made these into thick teardrops. Because it's quite a large lengthy cane, you need a fair bit of clay for doing these. I've tried doing it smaller and it doesn't work out as well because you need a fair bit to actually you know, do the process of it. Now I'm rolling these just out first with a roller, just because it'll not go through my pasta machine at this stage. But hopefully once I've done a good blend with it, it'll come out into the proper rainbow that I'm wanting. So once I've got it thin enough for it to be able to go through the pasta machine, I'll push it through there and I will just form a skinner blend like I do any other time. So let's see if I can get that one through. It's a bit too wide, so let's squidge it up a bit. Now luckily in my studio it's rather warm today, so the clay didn't take too much conditioning, so that was a good thing. So that's my big blend. As you can see, it's that big. And all I'm going to keep doing is just folding it onto itself and then passing it through the pasta machine. Folded side first. Always put the same colour back onto itself, because otherwise you're just going to lose the colours that you want in. But you just keep doing that and then you put that end through the pasta machine first. So I'm going to go and get this all blended now, and hopefully it will turn out how I want it. And once I've got that, I'll come back. Beautiful. That is just exactly how I wanted to turn it out, so it's just got a nice soft blend going into each of them and it's created the other colours. So I've got a rather big piece of this, but I wanted to cut it into half. It's about 9 inches, this one, so obviously you can't see at the minute while I'm measuring. I'm just trying to find my blade. Oh, there it is. I didn't it. So I'm going to cut this in half because I'm wanting to do two bullseye canes, but one with the red in the middle and one with the violet in the middle. So I'm going to just fold this into 3. Just try and get out as much air as you can. There we go. And then I'm going to roll it through my pasta machine on number 1. So I've got a nice long length there, and then I'm going to take it down to, I think it's number 4. So I've got a really, really long piece now. Just move that out of the way so it's not getting caught. So this one I will put the, oh, knocking the camera now, the red in the middle. But what I'm going to do is just going to straighten that bit off, just a tad. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little white in the centre. I didn't want to blend it in with the red and it turn into a pink, but I did want to have a bit of a white core. On the video that I watched, she uses a big part of white within the cane, and it seems to make it more pronounced. So I thought if I try and keep that sort of aspect of it and just have a little bit of white in it, so the things that are in the centre tend to reduce less than what the outside ones do. So I want to try and get it so that it's the same width as that. So I've got that there. I might actually just go around it just once more time. And this is pearl white, but you can just use regular white if you want to. You don't have to do this bit either if you don't want to. This is just me. So hopefully this works and it turns out like I'm hoping it to. Apologies if you can hear the fan in the background. It's gone rather warm in the studio and the clay's gone very, very sticky. I'm trying to cool it down a little bit. So I'm just going to put that in the centre there. And then I'm going to roll it up like we do when we're doing a bullseye cane. Now before I start going on to any of the shaping of this cane, I am going to have to let this clay rest, because one of the main things with this cane is you need to take your time. It's not one that you can rush. I tried rushing it once and not leaving the clay to sit, and it just went all wonky and it didn't look right, and I was so mad with myself because I felt like knocking something over. I'd wasted so much clay. I hadn't, it just hadn't turned out how I wanted it, so I just used the cane for something else. But if you're wanting to do something that's sort of like more specific, then just take your time. And I know it can be frustrating when you're in the middle of it and you're like, no, I want to do it, I want to get it going with it. But with something like this, you can't really rush it too much. Just for that reason, really. Yeah, there. There we go. So I've got a nice bullseye cane there, and just going to give it a squish now with my acrylic block. As you can see, the edges are a bit ruffly, but that doesn't matter at the minute. I'm just trying to get the air out of it. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in black. Reason being is, again on the other video, she uses black as sort of like an outline type thing. I thought it would be a good idea to still keep that, just so that the other colours, either the red or the indigo, violet, doesn't get darker. You know, it'll just have that outline of it. So I've got some black clay here, and this is on my thickest setting. I've got to say, when I've been doing all this, it's always been on the thickest setting, apart from when I've turned it down into, you know, to do the jelly roll. I'm just going to make it a little bit thinner. So this is number 2, because you're not wanting to actually see too much black. It's just to basically outline the pieces when you're doing it. So just trim this off and get a nice clean edge. Now, because you're working with black and white, it can get a bit awkward for getting little flecks of black in it, so just be careful and keep your white separate. Otherwise you're going to end up with a load of grey clay, and you might not want grey clay. If you do want it, then that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to go around it once. Place it to the other side, and it'll make a mark. And trim it off. There we go. So we've got our first bullseye. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and do the other half, but I'm going to have the violet in the centre where we've got the red, and I'm going to leave it to rest a little while because it's very, very squidgy and I don't want to be spoiling any of it. So once I've done that, I'll come back and show you what to do. I've left these to rest for a couple of days until the weather's gotten a bit cooler because they were really, really squishy, and they've been stood in my studio, and every time I touched them they were just like really soft, so that's not the best thing for cane making. So now the next thing to decide is which you're going to have as the more prominent of the two sides that you're going to do, because we're going to cut them into quarters, but then one piece of one of them's going to be cut in half again. So I think I'll go with this one as one that I'm going to cut the fourth one into half. So it's just basically just try and get over it as best you can. And over again. Don't worry if it's not absolutely perfect, because we'll be squishing and moving stuff apart, and it'll all look fine in the end. So you just want to take one of your quarters and I'm going to cut that in half, so I'll try and get it so you're on the point, just come straight down. That's gone a little bit wonky as I've done it, so I'm just going to stick it back together. Let's try doing it this way instead. So I'll just give it a squeeze if that happens. See, it's not the end of the world. Try and do it that way. It's probably easier. And then just try and keep your blade going down the centre bit. There we go, that's better. There, and we've got our eighths. And then we're just going to do the same with this one, but this one's not getting the smaller sections. Now if you want to be more precise over it, mark it out, use your lines on your board if you've got one, hover over it more. If I hover over it too much more, you'll just see my head and you don't want to be seeing the back of my head. So just doing it this way. Okay, so then we've got our 4 pieces with the red on the outside, and then we've got our 5 pieces with the purple on the outside. So I'm going to start with one of these ones. What I'm going to do is wanting to bring this darker outside edge round to the side, and the same on the other side. So when I've been doing my practice ones, I've been laying it flat onto my mat, and then I've just been pushing the black around, and we're just basically bringing that black down so it creates a bit of a, let's say, a border, or it's sort of just a definition line between the next one. So I'll just lift it on and you can see what I'm doing. I'm just stretching it down. Just take your time with it. The thing with this cane, you need to take your time with it, don't rush it. If you rush doing it, it'll not turn out as nice as you want it to do. The second time that I ever did this cane, I rushed it because I thought, oh, I've got this, I know what I'm doing now, and I've ruined it. I think I might have said that actually already in the video, but yeah, it was a bit disappointing. So I've got it coming down almost to the edge of the red now, but I'm just going to go and flip to the other side. I'm going to do on the other one, and so again, just push it down onto your mat. We're going to round it back off once we've done this step. I'm not going to make you sit and watch me do all of these pieces, because as you can tell there's quite a few of them to do and it can get a bit tedious. No. Now we've done that side, we can just press that round a little bit more. And then these that have gone quite sort of, not perfect points, but you know, like a triangle, just press them down just so it rounds them out, because I'm wanting them to be like teardrops. I'll show you once I've got them. And then you want to just pinch you know, the white bit, and then that way you can pull up the black or whatever colour you've used on the outside more. And then again, just make sure that it's rounded on these points. And then you've got it pointing there, and then just give it a quick squish on the ends just to neaten it up. So it doesn't look very good at the minute, but once it's cut it will do. Now you've got to do that with all your other pieces, but with these side pieces you're just going to do one side of it. Apologies for my cat trying to get in here, she's scratching at the door, so if you can hear a scratching sound, it's so I'm pushing this one away from me. You could do it either way if you wanted, but just with these two smaller pieces we're just going to bring it round to the other side, and you'll understand why when we put it together. So yeah, if you'd have done this while the cane was way too soft, it would have probably pulled the colours down as well as the black, which is not what we want really. I mean, you just got a different effect, but you didn't get the one that I'm trying to aim for here. Okay, and then this edge here, I just want to push it back down so it rounds it out again. There you go, so you've got half a teardrop. So you can have it doing it facing you like with the other ones, but okay. So I've done that one now. So I'll just show you the difference. So it's basically just half of it. So I'm going to go and do the rest off camera, and I'll come back once they're done. They're all the same length now, and I've reduced them down and I've trimmed them so that they're the same length, because some of them needed lengthening out a little bit more because they're a bit thicker than the other ones. So if that happens, don't worry about it. Right, I've got them in two sections just so that I don't get this process mixed up with you. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with one of the ones that we've got our half side, not size, and then we just want to take one of our other ones that's got the red on the outside, or whatever colour you've gone for, and we're just going to pair them up this way. So not quite top to bottom, but fairly near there. Okay, and then you want to take one of your full ones of the first one, and we're going to do it the opposite way. And we're just going to repeat this until we've got them all stuck together. Again, it's just another thing that you just want to take your time on, because we are going to close up all the gaps that's going to be there, but that's just the next step. So as long as we get them all lined up as they're supposed to go. So we want this one next. Move it up. Yep. Just lined up. Just remember you wanting to keep it alternating. So if you find it easier, you can. If you've got a glass mat like what I have, you can actually stand them up on that. We're just trying to have it so they're a little further up for you to see. So I'll do it this way, and then I'll lift it up and show you before I do the next step. Okay. And then we want this last one from here. So as you can see, we've got the coloured outside edge facing to the left, and then this one we want it facing to the right, so just flip it so it's facing the right way. Okay. Right, if you lay them down that way, and you can see if any are just further up than the others, and you can just, because we've not squished them together yet, you can just about peel them away and just rearrange them, just make sure that they're all level. So that's it. There we go. Whoop! That's what I get for trying to lift it up. Just pulling So I'm going to leave it there because I don't want that to do it again. So what we need to do now is we just need to compress it. We're just going to do it into a block first. So I'm going to turn it into that block now. So if you just want to push them just a little bit together that way. Now again, this is going to be another step that you need to take your time with. If you do it too quickly, it will just distort and it will not turn out right in the end. So I'm going to use my acrylic block and I'm just going to use that to try and push things down. Now the reducing process is probably what takes the longest after the doing the Skinner blends. And we're just wanting to compress it enough to get together to turn it into a triangle. So this bit needs to take a fair bit of squishing. So that's all we're going to do, and you want to press in the middle of them rather than the top and bottom, because then that'll just reduce out, you know, the rounded side and the pointed side. So and then if you just sort of try and tease out the middles, just so that they're stretching at the same length as the outside ones, because when you're doing any regular cane making, the inside reduces less than what the outside does. I've just noticed I've not got all that much whiteness, so I'm just going to add just a little bit there. I think I've probably cut too much of it off when I was reducing. I'll just do that. So this is what I do when I'm doing my canes. If I get it slightly wrong, I don't worry about it, I'll just put a little bit more clay in. Not the end of the day. End of the world, should I say. Might be the end of the day, depending on when you're watching me. So don't be afraid just to tweak your cane a little bit. There we go. That's it. Now, trim it down. There we go. So it's just going to be a case of doing this until it's long enough, and this top side, which way around is it? It's this side, it needs to be this one. So the whites on the end pieces need to be facing downwards, and we're wanting it to be this edge that we're going to turn into the top point of the triangle. So it just takes a while. So I'm going to go and finish doing that off camera, and then I'll show you how to turn it into the triangle, because this bit's going to be very boring. So I'll be back in just a second. Right, so I've got the biggest part of the first step of squishing done. So as you can see now, it's getting closer together, so I'm just going to start pinching the top side up and carry on pulling from the centre outwards, just to make sure that everything stretches at the same time. Okay, and then carry on that way. Another thing that you can do is you can just pop it on its side and start turning it into a triangle that way, and just pushing the flat edges down so, and keep flipping it. And when you've done either side, just put it back on the base and squish the top. Squeeze, nip, whatever you want to call it. But that's just what we're going to do. As you can see, there's quite a bit of cane at the end that's going to need trimming off, but don't worry about that, there's plenty of things you can do. If you want some ideas of what you can do with your scrap clay, I've got a set of 3 videos that I've done with scrap clay and offcuts and things like that, and I'll link those in the description box for you. But yeah, that's just lots of different ways that you can use your ends, because there's no wasted clay, you can always do something with it. So now we're getting it more into the triangle. You want to keep your points really sort of straight and pointed. I can't think of the other word for it. But you want to keep them nice clean cut lines. So as you can see, I'm nearly getting towards so the outsides and almost touching. As you can see, these are all lined up together, which is what we want. And then this middle bit there's not quite stretched as much as they should they're in, so I'm just going to give them a wood yank. Give them another squeeze. So there, just about got them going to a point. So now just keep repeating this until you've got it how you want. It's just smoothing and petting it as well. Okay, so as you can see, it's a bit of a mess at the end, but don't worry about that. So I'm going to trim off this so you can see the end. So if you want to do it from the side that's got your lines on the bottom, just have those facing you, and then you'll get the guide as to where you need to cut it to, so you get a nice clean edge. And that's what you should have. Yeah. So, and that's the end piece, so you can do lots of things with them. So now what we've got to do is we've got to try and make this taller, so it's going into a, looks a bit like a J. So you're going to be squeezing the middle again, and then you're wanting to elongate the point. Again, this is another step that you need to take your time on. So again, you can do it this way, but you're wanting the base to stay relatively wide compared to the rest of it. And then if you're pushing in, so what we're wanting is we're wanting one long side to be relatively straight, and then one side's going to be more curved, but I'll show you that when we get to there. But we're just keeping doing this. You want to try and keep your lines as straight as you can. Squeeze, don't worry about it getting too thin, because we're needing it to be relatively thin for the formation that we're going to do. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to do the curled sort of point that we're going to need. So we've got our triangle going like this, so if you've got it facing like that, flip it so that it's facing away from you and you've got your lines facing. Now we're wanting to curve this side now, so I'm just pushing my finger in the centre and then pulling up from the bottom, and that just thins it out, because this part here is going to be what we twist to make the spiral in the centre. Again, you want to keep your lines very straight and pointed. If you see any of your white or another colour sort of coming out of its place, just give it a little trim with your blade. So I'll lift it up so I can show you what I'm doing. You can see this side we'll be making longer, and then this side we're going to be curling round. Okay, So it's going to be going like that. So I'm going to go and do a bit more of that off camera because you want to keep watching me in real time doing it, and I'll come back and I'll show you what we're doing next. I've just remembered a couple of things that I wanted to tell you about that are not said already when you're doing this process. If you take your rolling pin and you're popping it into, you know, when we're trying to curl around this bottom edge, if you use a rolling pin it will help you a lot, because obviously it's giving it that curved edge. Obviously the longer your kin is, you're going to have to move your rolling pin along, giving that pressure all the way around. And then for this edge here, you want to keep it nice and straight and pointed, so you can just use a gift card or bit of cardboard just wrapped in some parchment paper or something like that, just to straighten up those edges. And then you can press against your glass mat if you've got one of those as well, and that will help elongate that back edge. And then you just carry on doing this. Now, so my white lines are getting a little bit too wonky for my liking, so stretching it out a little bit more, and I'm going to leave it rest just for a few minutes, just so that it doesn't get any more distorted. So once it's chilled a little bit, and I will come back and tell you what to do. Right, so I've got it chilled out a little bit now, and this is the side that we're going to be curling, which is going to go in the centre. But before we do that, we need to cut it into 3 sections. So I've got this to about 15 inches now that I've trimmed off the end bits. So obviously I'm wanting 3 5-inch pieces. So you don't have to make it this big if you don't want to do it this big. It's totally up to you how big you do your cane. It's a bit easier if you do it on the larger side for this one. Right, so we've got our 3 sections now, and we're going to be wanting the way around. I always forget when I'm putting the first one down and I've got a picture of the side of it, I'm going to just double check. Yeah, that's it. Sorry about that, I had to just double check, I didn't want to tell you wrong. So this is the side that's going to be interlocking in the middle, so now it's separated out, it's probably a little bit easier just to curl that over without it distorting the rest of it anymore. So I'm going to try and stand them up as best I can so you can see the way that we're going to put them. So, and we want this one goes like that way, and then this one wants to go that way. That's the only way I can really see it. So if you want to take a screenshot of that for when you've done it. Obviously this is not going to fit together as it is, but I just wanted to show you the way around that they've got to go. So we're wanting to make this here to be the full length of this one, so that will go in down there. So as you can see, this one just needs lengthening out a little bit more, and you can curl this around a bit more. The more you want your centre to swirl, the better that you you know, you make this edge sort of thinner. So just push some more in the centre, and then as you're doing it at that time, you can again just keep pressing down this bottom side, and then just keep checking, where did I go? There we go. See, I put it down and then I go and forget which way that I'm doing it. And I've done it several times now and I still forget which way I'm that way. And yeah, that's it. So this part wants to fit into there, so if I curl that round a little bit more, so I can actually elongate this curved part just a bit more. Okay, so that's going to go around there, so you're trying to interlock them. And then, so you're wanting this point to come to the top point of this one. So sort of curve it round in there. It does take some fidgeting around. So put that there and then we can put there. So I think this end needs to just be squeezed a little more. You can, every time that you do this, you think that you've squeezed it enough and thinned it out, and you're always going to need to make them a little bit longer. Right, so let's go. I think I flipped it now. It's easier if you try and keep your game facing the same way all the time, but then when you put it down and you forget that you flipped it. Okay, so we've got that in there, and this one's just going to slot in here. Let's pull that one apart. That one should curl round into that space. A bit like a jigsaw really. Rather awkward triangle jigsaw. And then we're just going to, this needs to now come up to this point here. So if we squeeze that a little bit more and push it together, and you can just pull up the coloured side a little bit more and push in on the top side of it. And just turn it back into a triangle again. And then just push down these joins just so that they all mould together and they're not going to fall apart, you know, like when you're putting the rest of it together. And again, if you want to use your acrylic block, that will give you a nice straight edge to press against, as well as your work mat. There we go. So you can't see it all that clearly just yet. I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit more, because when I do this cane I like to save part of it just as the triangle as it is now, and then at each stage I like to keep it at the different points just so I've got options to do different things. So if you just want to stretch it out and reduce it a little bit. And when you're doing your canes, you don't want, if you're not going to be using it straight away, you're always better off leaving your canes on the larger side so that you can rake them back up again for when you are ready for using them. So that's probably a fair size to it. That's probably about an inch on each side. So I'll cut off, keep a 2-inch piece of this one. There we go. I'm actually trying so you can see a bit better now with the light. So that's, oh, I love it. Oh, can't wait to play with it. Right, so, so now the next step is to turn it into sort of looking like a diamond shape, like this. So that's one of my practice ones. I'll show you all of them at the end. So you want to get it so that you can put it into even parts. So that end's just distorted just a little, so I'm going to clean it up. And that's at 8 inches now. Okay, so I'll cut that off at 4. And then this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our 2 points and straighten them up. together that way. Just keep making sure that you're lined up all the way. Okay. And just pinch all the joins like we've done before. So if you want to keep some at that stage, you can do, but you can just put that piece together from the piece that you've saved of the large one. So it's up to you whether if you want to keep some at this size or not. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to turn it into a square rather than keeping it in this diamond shape. And it's just going to be a case of, again, just squishing and pulling in those different, you know, the sides, just to form it back into a more of a square shape. Clay is getting very soft again, but I'll do it as far as I can to show you. Just pushing them in all the way down and flip. Then once you've got a relatively steady straight side, I like to just take my roller. I don't press too hard on it because I don't want to squish the clay out. I'm just going backwards and forwards, and then just keep rotating it, and then eventually it will just turn into your perfect square, what you want it. Give it a little bit of a squeeze. It's a very time consuming cane, but the effect's definitely worth it. So I'm getting nearly there now. Well, just about. It's a good square now. So as you can see, it's just about there now. So the two formations that I'm wanting to show you next, you're going to need 4 pieces for each of them. So this one needs reducing out so that you can cut it into 8 pieces altogether, or 4 if you just want to do one of the formations. So I'm going to let this rest just a little bit again, because I can feel it's getting very squishy, and then I'll reduce it down and I'll come back once I've got it all cut up, and I'll show you what to do next. I've got my 8 pieces. I've also taken a section of it so that I've got it just in the regular square formation, so I can do different things with it. So, strangely I've gone a bit distorted that one. So I've got 2 canes going so far, so if you've kept one at the diamond sort of stage, then you've got 3 so far. So this is another practice one I've done, so that one I'll be probably keeping a section of it in the diamond. So I'll put 4 to one side. Now the first one we're going to be putting the what I'll call the arrows pointing inwards. So I'm going to put them into formations of 4. So if you just want to turn your canes round so they're facing this way, so it's just a little bit shorter than the other one. I'm just going to line them up that way. It's still a little bit too short. And just pressing down on your mat just keeps them straight, and you want to do the same with the other 2. So moving that way, and that one's a little bit shorter. So essentially wanting the arrows just to face each other for this one. same. And so you want to take your two halves, and we're just going to line them up and press them together. And that's the first formation. Now if your cuttlers are bold enough, you can keep reducing it and keep doing this process, but the smaller that you make it, the darker the cane is going to be, so it's better to just keep doing this. Personally, this is what I do. This is the smallest that I go to it, because I don't want it to get too small, and then you lose all the detail and all that work that you've done is just wasted. So just take a slice of that. I'll not reduce this anymore until I'm ready for using it, but just take a slice so you can see better. There you go. So you've got your arrows pointing inwards, and then on the other one, you're going to have them pointing towards the corners. So just take two of your pieces, and you're just going to have the one arrow meeting up to go into the centre, so each of the corners is going to have a point going away. Yep. Yeah, that way. And we're going to pop these together. And just squeeze them. It closes up that gap in the centre. As you can see, this is very squishy now, so before I do anything else with it I'm going to have to let it rest for a good hour or so, I think, before it's ready for slicing. So if you try cutting it when it's too warm for slicing, it just distorts your image, and you don't want to lose out with all this nice work that you've done on it. So further on where it is, and then we'll take another cut. There you go, and that's the opposite way, so you've got it going inwards and then going outwards as well. So that's just from the same cane. So essentially you can get 5 canes from this one. So you just have one in the diamond formation if you wanted to keep one that way. So I'm going to let these rest, and then I'll come back and show you what you could do with them. As you can see, I've been busy making plenty of variations of this cane. This is the original colourway that she does in the video that I said that I followed. Not too sure what her name is, to be honest, but if you know what it is, comment below and I'll be happy to find out what it is, but I'll link below anyway. So, and she's done sort of like a seafoam green and a dark purple, and I really like that one. I've made quite a few pieces with these ones previously, and I liked it that much I made it a second time, which is the one that you can see now. This one is one that I did with red and white and green and white, and then black around the outside. Now it was a lot more vibrant when it was bigger, so be careful if you're putting dark colours into your canes. The more you reduce it, the darker that they're going to get. So as you can see right here, this is the one that we've made on the video today, but this one, these ones here, what I made a pastel version of the cane that I've used here. I'd sort of like got about an inch and a half piece of the original Skinner blend left, and I blended it with some pearl white and made it into a pastel version of it, and this one's turned out brighter than what the other one is. I mean, this one you can see close up, and I wouldn't reduce it much more than what it is, or you're not going to be able to see any of the pattern. But again, if you're wanting to have a lighter centre in it, I'd probably put a bit more white in it, and therefore that it gives that highlight in it. And this one I did with a sort of grass green and gold. Both of those were just basic Skinner blends made with white, and I really like this one. It's that one's a definite one that stays as bright when you're reducing it as well. And with the leftovers, sort of like with the bits that I've trimmed off, as you can see I've just made some little canes with just like the bits of the skinner blend that were left over, or the bits that I chopped off when I was making the sections the same length. And they're just different things that you can do, just so that I'm not chopping them all up just to make, you know, Natasha's and oh, go on, bees. I can't remember the name of them. Little bees, that's it. Yeah, so those were just a few options. I'm going to show you how to make a certain type of cabochon that I've done in a few pieces that someone asked they'd love to see how I'd make it, so I'm going to show you how to do that one. I'll do it out of the cane that we've made together, so I'll just move all these other ones to the side. So we'll go. There's the thing when you get so many canes, you're it's having space for them all. So I'm going to go with this one because you can see the pattern better on the camera. So in all the canes I'll wrap them in gold or silver leaf for storage, just so that you know, they don't stick to each other. Right, so I'm just going to get my acrylic block. I'm going to get some scrap clay. Now, depending on how big you want your cabochon to be, is how big of a shape that you pick. I'm just using circle cutters because that's what's on my desk. And apologies for the crackling, I ought to have got the cutters out before I started filming, but silly me, I forgot, so come out a little bit then. So I'm going to probably go with, I think that's probably about a 2-inch cutter. And this is just scrap clay cut, rolled out on my thickest setting. Got a hair in there. I really ought to have walked this up a bit beforehand, but never mind. So I just keep it in these little pockets, and it's easier for me to just cut things out when I'm wanting them. So yeah, that's my fault for not waking it up better, but it doesn't take much. So it doesn't have to be a circle cutter, it can just be whatever, because it's just basically to create the sort of like the innards of the pendant. So just making it into a ball, just try and get any cracks or joins out as best you can, and also roll it on the table as well, and that helps. Oh, nearly there. There we go. Right, so you just need to decide what shape you want your cabochon to be. So I'm going to do, I'll do a nice easy round one, and then that's probably the easiest one to go off with. So I'm just taking my acrylic block and I'm just flattening it down, and I'm wanting it to be domed. So just press down on the outside edges, and then if it's too tall in the middle, just give it a push in the middle. Okay, so that around. And you can just take your cutter and just go around the edges. For the benefit of the round colour, you can use it to make your sides round again. Then I'm going to take my triangle cane, just reduce it down just a little, a bit too big for what I'm wanting. Now I think the one that I was asked to show to do actually had the points put in together, so I'm going to have to put a few of these slices together now. So just take your blade and just want to take some slices, probably about 1 or 2 millimeters thick. And this is basically putting just slices together to create the other shapes, rather than you know, making the cane to that shape to start with. So I'm just going to do some of those. So in fact, I'll take this off the box and use that so I can lift it up to the camera to show you the design once it's finished. Just make sure that you're going to place them so that they're all the same way. You don't want to have one of your sections to be odd. You want 3 of these, so 6 slices altogether. As you notice, when I've got a triangle cane, I rotate it once I've cut it for a couple of slices. This means just to keep so that each side gets sort of squished the same amount so that it's more even. There we go. So, lift it up and make the blade instead. I'm going to have the points going inwards, so I'm going to lay them down. And mix them all up. Okay. So they don't meet directly straight in the middle. Don't worry, because I'm going to be putting a rhinestone or something in the centre anyway. I'll just do that one. And then we just want to make the joins blend together just so that it's a solid piece. Look, this is just a piece of plastic that I've got from a wrapping that I've got. Plus this evens it out as well, because I can never get all my slices the exact same thickness. So this sort of helps it. I'm just using my rolling pin just to help myself a little bit. Don't push too hard on it because otherwise it will distort. But yeah. Yeah. So, and that's that bit there. Put that back in the middle. And just mould it around the base. Okay, now because we're wanting it round, I'm going to have to try and tuck these side edges in. Now it's quite thick at the moment, this, because we put the base in and the slices. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to thin it out just a little before I put the plastic back on. Okay. And this is when you refine it to the size and exact shape that you want. So if you want it to go a little bit bigger and flatter, just press from the centre outwards. There you go. And again you can get your bottom. this is a larger cabochon than I've done in the piece that I'd shown, but it doesn't really matter. Well, I'm just not that much bigger, but depending on what sort of jewellery you like to do, you know, how big you make your pieces. So we've got our circle piece there, and now we just need a rhinestone, so I'm just going to go find a rhinestone and then I'll pop back. Right, found my rhinestone, and I think this is probably a 10mm one by the looks of it, and it sort of changes shape a bit like the cane that we've made, so I thought that would go quite well. So I've just got some liquid clay. Now this is a Fimo liquid gel, which I've recently started using, and it is really nice to use. It's a bit thicker than your regular liquid clay. I'm just popping it in the centre around here. And then, get it in the centre. And then just find my pencil with a rubber on the end. Can find it. Look at this instead. I'm just going to push it down into the pendant. The UV stuff. This, I think this is more readily available to people. Not everybody's got a UV lamp to be using. And then just to secure that in the centre, I'm just going to put some little balls of clay. Can you see which one I'm going to do? Let's put... Alright, I'm rifling through my little bits of clay this way. Desperately. Something that will stand out a bit more. I'll go with this one. See, I don't pick my colours all that well. I go by what I've got next to me. You know, and if I've just got lots of little pieces, and just pop it all together just so that I'm not wasting it all, and then you know, if I don't do that, then I can use it just for clay embroidery. So I'm just going to get some little slices now. And do 8 or so. The reason I'm doing this is just so that I can get them all relatively the same size. If you want to get them perfectly sized, then use a cutter, you know, so you know that every time that you will get the same amount of clay. There we go. I'm just going to take each piece . last one. And I'm just going to take my needle tool. I'm just going to press down the middle. It's the same as if you were using the balls like we were going to do originally, but I changed my mind. I wanted to change it up a little bit. And these little pieces will just all give you that extra security for your rhinestone in the middle, so you don't want it popping out. Especially if you're selling it, there's nothing worse you selling somebody a piece of your work and something coming out of it. There we go. So that's our pendant, and that's just a really basic one. You can turn them into ovals, you can turn them into squares, you can turn them into triangles. There's lots of different things that you can do, and you can make lots of lovely beads and things like that. So I'm going to clear this and I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you some pieces that I've already made. So these are pieces that I made with that original cane that I made using the video from Motley Wood, this one with the purple and the green. And I've got loads of different beads that I've still got left over from those canes, but I like it so much that I'll not care how many different pieces that I've got. This one was the first one that I did, and I call that my all-seeing eye necklace. I've put that on TikTok, I think, or Instagram, one of the two that I've popped on. And then this is the one that I've only just finished, and this is the round one, so it's a smaller version of what I've just shown you. And then this is a bracelet, which is just for some little beads that are round beads that are made from slices, which I shall show you now. And these are what's left, so I'm probably going to have to make some more of these ones if I'm going to make some that match. But these are just little ball beads, and I've just basically covered them with slices of the cane and then smoothed them out and just made them into a ball and then just skewered through them. And I've just put a few of those mixed in with some crystals and rhinestone, crystals and regular beads. Just popping them back in there so they don't go rolling. That's the problem with the round ones, they go flying quite easily. So as you can see, it can be very funny. You can do lots of different things with it. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and that it's sort of inspired you to have a go at making these canes yourself. Let's bring them back in and move them out of the way. There we go. Took me ages to get them positioned right on there so I don't want them falling off. So I'll zoom back in now so you can have a quick look at them. So these are the ones that we've done today. I hope it's inspired you to have a go. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer them as best I can. I've also got a Facebook group called Becca's Crafty Crafters, so if you want to ask to join in that, feel free to. I'm wanting it to just sort of become a community of people that watch my work and, you know, want to get to know other people and want to, you know, be able to share what you make, because I'd love to see what you make. Especially, you know, if you're following one of my tutorials, or even if it's just a tutorial from somewhere else that you've watched, it's just nice being able to see, you know, what you're making and things. And then if you've got questions, you can put pictures on and it's easier for me to be able to answer them. So if you want to try that, that's fine. I've also got TikTok and Instagram, which is Becca's Crafts UK, I think they are on there. I think I've got them all listed in the description box below. So if you've liked that, if you could give me a thumbs up, that'd be appreciated. And if you've not subscribed, if you consider subscribing, that'd be appreciated too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.